Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to HitScan. Here is the second part of our interview with Orcane, mostly focusing on the new agent Skye who hits the game tomorrow, but also talking about an economy change that might be coming in this patch too, basically trying to guess what it is. But let's get into it. How do you think she's going to come into the game? Like, you are, say, the coach of a team playing in First Strike. When and where would you want to be using Skye, do you think? Who does she compete with? How do you expect it to be used by the majority of people?
I mean, I always think of the game in the standpoint of like the roles that we have. I think that she competes with both Breach and Sova in different ways, and then I think the fact that she has an additional component of healing makes her compete with Sage in a very subtle way. I think we always internally think of healing as being this kind of like additional thing that a character brings and not kind of their core identity in a lot of ways. So a lot of her tactical value is about breaking into sites, and like she's got a couple pieces like and gathering recon, even though the recon that she gathers is a little bit less immediately specific in the way that Sova's is, where you can like, you know, wallbang people because of the reveal. It's a little bit more just like, oh, there are people here, you know, it's a little bit more nebulous information, but she brings a little bit harder of breaking utility to the table with, you know, her bird flashes and things like that. So my take is that she'll end up probably feeling like you would take her in place of like a Breach or a Sova. And then, you know, I think that my hope is that the way that people think about her is that because she has some of these additional values, like kind of this, a little bit of recon, a little bit of healing, the way that you think about your other choices in the roster would change up when you think about it at like a team comp, right? Like maybe you take a little bit, you don't need a Reyna or a Phoenix as much. You have this kind of like self-heal because you have this character that can heal the people that are breaking onto site more effectively. Or, you know, maybe you don't have to take Sage, or you do take Sage and you just double down on the healing and you just have like a ton of healing on your team. Yeah, that's broadly how I would think about it.
Like, the main thing for me is I remember talking to Morello a couple of times, not only before Killjoy was added in, but just like before we had that agent and around the time of Killjoy's launch. One thing that he was genuinely terrified was stacking 3 controllers on a team and just playing them all at the same time and that being somewhat the meta. Then it was a case of 3 Sentinels being the meta, and then he was staying up all night thinking about that, I guess. So I guess the question for you is, are you worried or concerned about having triple initiators? Because Sova and Breach are really powerful, not only on attack but on defense too, so I could definitely see teams wanting to run triple initiators with all of the utility that it has. So
my biggest fear with our agents is that exact thing, the triple stack of any type. Duelists, initiators, sentinels, controllers. Like I think unless a team is running a hyper specific strategy that is like centered around having that, like on a specific map, to me that would be acceptable. But if that becomes kind of the default on most maps or on many maps, to me that feels a little bit more of a problem. It feels like they're just probably bringing too much to the table in any one particular place. So yeah, I would think, you know, if a team ends up running triple initiator, I think that would be very interesting to see. I think it would make the game feel a lot different than it probably feels right now. I think I worry about it, but I think until those things become like obvious meta choices for like a huge portion of the community, I'm not sweating it too hard. The triple sentinel is maybe more stressful to me than the other ones because of the way it slows down games. I think it slows down games a lot. I think triple duelist almost worries me more than triple initiator as well, because triple duelist means that like teamwork is dead, just like long live the solo frag champion, like is not my favorite version of the game. I think, you know, on live and on like, you know, ranked and public games, I think that's fine. You know, people are trying to play for themselves most of the time anyway. I think we're always going to see a high pick rate of duelists there. I think when it comes to, you know, the team focus games, if that starts becoming the best play, that would have me a little bit more worried.
Yeah, in a similar way, not exactly the role, but the ability type. Teams filled with Breach, Omen, Reyna, Phoenix, and Skye, all of those different flashes. Is that something you're looking forward to dealing with, or have you guys tried that internally and kind of gone, we can deal with this, this is doable?
I think that it tends to live more in the realm of it feels doable. It's definitely a very specific version of the game. I think our general theory with that is, as people push more of these initiation tools, these like fast-paced, just get in there type tools, hopefully teams feel like on defense they're going to be missing out on a lot of the like hard stall that they want. You know, things like what Sage does and what Killjoy does really well, where they are able to really, like, if a team just wants to unga bunga run into a site, they can just like toss down bees or the slow, or you know, really stop a team in their tracks.
Yeah.
But I think it's always going to be, I think that's the hope, you know, that's the delicate balance we hope to strike. You know, I think that's one of those things we'll probably wait and see on. But I think the eventual hope is that when teams hyper focus in a certain way, it should feel like they're leaving something on the table, and ensuring that those things feel like valuable options is kind of our job, is to make sure it always feels like if you're deciding to make this really concerted choice, you're very clearly missing something. When you run triple duelists, like, or triple initiators, like, yeah, not having stall, not having enough smokes should be like realistic problems. But again, that should be on a map by map basis, where it becomes, I think, a bit more nuanced. You know, like on Icebox, I think maneuverability feels more important to me on Icebox than on most maps. You know, there's so many places to boost on top of that having a character like Jet or Raze or Omen feels really, really valuable. But being able to like gunk up a specific choke is not quite as valuable on that map, especially on the inner site. I think we really hope that teams are having to pick, like, they're leaving something on the table, and it's very much about the map that they're playing and the particular comp that they're trying to run. But yeah,
with the multi-agent role stacking being just a concern for everybody, it seems so, right? Even like the cosmetic team are just having nightmares about it. For Skye specifically, is there anything else that you're going to very much keep a keen eye on? Things that not necessarily worried about, but something that you feel that when she launches that you need to keep on top of, especially with something like First Strike around the corner, just to make sure that she's either strong enough or not completely overpowered, which I think is the expectation with any new character added to any FPS game like this.
I think the couple of things that I'm not terribly worried about her feeling overpowered. I could be totally wrong there, but because she tends to be a character that is a bit more, is like very focused around teamwork, I think she has a little bit more tolerance to not being perceived as being crazy super strong. Like, you know, when we launched Reyna, it was like, hey, we're making a character that's all about, she's like a reset carry. That's like the character to be worried about being overpowered, because her whole fantasy is that in the right hands, she kind of feels overpowered. So I think that she's a little bit less of a concern with that in that department. That said, I think there's a bunch of stuff that we do already have our eyes on. I think that her, you know, the amount of healing and the reliability of her healing is something that we're always very keen on, trying to make sure that we're not letting her heal too much or too little. Hopefully the trade-off where she can't heal herself feels like a really reasonable balance point for her, but, you know, it'll kind of let the community decide. I think probably the other one is that all of her utility is able to be shot. Like everything, her birds, her wolf, her ultimate, they all have this avenue of counterplay where you can shoot the stuff. I think trying to keep an eye on that, like how much are you shooting things? Like, do these things have too much health, too little health? Are they too hard to shoot, too easy to shoot? Like what people's perceptions are around that, especially at higher levels where people's aim is damn near robotic. Like, are they just trivializing every single ability before it even gets to go off? Like, that would be a pretty major problem for us, where we'd have to try to, you know, figure out a balance point around that. I think the last one is probably just her total amount of recon that she has, given the amount of brutal breaking power she has. You know, she has these hawks that can flash a sight, but they also, you know, let out a screech when they actually detect somebody. It's like a lot of information that you're getting, you know. And so trying to make sure that we're balancing that. You know, she has this wolf that can scout an area, but if it successfully scouts an area, it concusses. You know, I think we've done a pretty good, or we've taken a pretty good pass at making these things balanced and feel like appropriate trade-offs when you compare them to similar abilities. But, you know, it's always up to the community to see how people actually play with these things for us to really get a beat on it.
With Killjoy, I felt like I saw a lot more of, wow, this is gonna be so oppressive and so difficult to deal with, and oh my god, there's a turret. And with Skye, I think there's a lot of talking about all the different abilities creating cool opportunities, like Sova and like Breach, except you could kind of almost combining the two in a way. And like to me, it seems like it's very difficult to kind of, like you said yourself, know is this character actually OP or not. But you know, I think I'm right there with you for the in the camp of I don't think she's gonna spin out of control entirely, but again, you never know. There's gonna be some player that manages
Yep.
to exploit the shit out of this character.
I guess that's a nice segue onto Icebox then, because that has been something that people can play. I know you're not Volcano or the maps team, but generally, what's the feedback like for that map? Because it's feels almost polarizing. I know Shroud said that more maps should be more like it, but I think the verticality might rub some people the wrong way on the A site. So now that it's been out, well, about 2 weeks now for normal quick play unrated, are you looking to change any aspect of it? Are you happy with the feedback that you've got? Is there anything that you kind of want to touch on from the devs' perspective on the map?
I can just speak at it from a very high level. You know, Volcano is definitely a better, has a much more nuanced opinion around it than I think I do. But generally speaking, the map has been reasonably polarizing. I think it asks a very different question of players. I know that's generally our philosophy with every additional map release, is that they pose an interesting, new, different question to the players, which makes you reconsider how you use your guns, how you use your agents. Like, what agent is better on this map versus better on that map? And Icebox is no different. And I think that the verticality and the engagement ranges are definitely can be pretty overwhelming when you first get in there. I think our hope is that as people play it more, they feel a little bit more comfortable in there. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's we're pretty happy with how it's been received. I think we kind of expected it to be somewhat polarizing, just because it feels quite different than all of our other maps, at least in my opinion. I think that there are more angles. The average engagement distance is much further than many other maps. But yeah, I think we've been pretty happy with how it's been playing out, to be honest.
As we're getting to the end of this video, we've spoke about agents, we spoke a little bit about the maps. There's obviously going to be other stuff in the patch on Tuesday and beyond, so are we expecting any like weapon changes, for example? Are you pretty happy with the balance of weapons, or just are there any other almost quality of life stuff that you just kind of want to briefly touch on to get people excited for stuff that isn't just a new agent, that this could be another beefy patch with a lot of stuff in there?
We're looking at doing maybe some stuff with the economy as well, but I can't touch too deeply on that, unfortunately. Pretty light touch, yeah.
Light touch, yeah. It's just the kind of stuff that, people in the comments can theorize, even people on Reddit, like, I guess what's the problem with the economy, and then people can theorize its solutions.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a way to to say it without saying it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that we're trying to, we always want players driving towards action and driving towards like their objectives. And so some of the changes we're making to the economy are around what happens when you try to save your gun after a round. And these are, generally speaking, lighter touch changes. They're not super heavy. They shouldn't feel very punitive, but it's more about encouraging players to have to make hard decisions in certain scenarios where they might just default to saving their gun, especially given the recent op changes where it's more expensive. Like, those decisions should be a lot sharper and
my prediction is it's very Counter-Strikey that if you die with your gun as the round ends, then you don't get the money, which is even more of a punish. But from the sounds of it, you said it's not punitive, so I don't imagine it would be that, right?
It should feel pretty reasonable. Like, it is my take. It doesn't feel like, in Counter-Strike, when you kill somebody, what is it? You're a terrorist that dies without planting the bomb, and then in like the 7 seconds after the round ends, if you die, you still don't get any money, and you also don't get your gun, right? Like, that's a scenario that we definitely do not want to have. Let's put it that way. I think that feels really bad for that person.
Yeah, for sure. I can hear the keyboards already clapping away in the comment section.
I guess the final point, is there anything that you want to plug yourself personally? But I guess with Skye coming out and Icebox going into competitive, where a lot more players are probably going to play it when they haven't played it before, potentially, where can people give their feedback? What's good for you? What are you looking for, I guess, when it hits?
Just go to Reddit, hit me up on Twitter. Like, we're always down to talk about stuff. If people have feedback, have thoughts, you know, I think we always like engaging in conversation with the community. So any social media platform is good.
Hero stats on one screen, Reddit feed on the other screen. Just ready with the feed.
Hika stream on another, yeah.
Yeah.
First strike
Yeah,
qualifiers
you guys are
on
far
another.
more accurate than you think.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Again, big shout out to Orcane for taking part in these interviews, giving us a little bit of a glimpse onto what to expect in the next patch. But thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments, like and subscribe. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.